Too soon.
I just think that was.
You know.
Not funny, but. So when are we gonna start running? Challenge me to a half marathon.
Like a big 5 gallon.
Better. I would do it.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
I think we're playing.
Oh, ready to get started.
I have a Peloton.
Good morning. I would like to welcome everybody to the Board of Directors meeting for the Chautauqua County Industrial Development Agency. We're at the BWB Building, 201 West 3rd Street, Jamestown, New York. We're also streaming live on YouTube. It's December the 16th at 10:30. We'll go ahead and start with roll call. Gary Henry's here. Dan Hetzenrader. Here. Sagan Sheffield Smith.
Here.
Amy Harding.
Here.
John Healy.
Here.
Kevin Muldowney.
Here.
Tom Harmon.
Here.
And DeMart.
Here.
You should have all received the minutes from the November 18th meeting and had a chance to review those. We have a motion to accept the minutes.
So move.
Thank you, Tom. And do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes have been approved. And I'd like to thank Dan for filling in while I was away. And so I appreciate it. And they welcomed me back. So I was glad. I thought maybe they wouldn't even want me back. So,
It's more like a coup, but.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and move right into new business A, Waypoint 3PL. It's going to be presented by Mark, Christine, Millen, and I believe Matt is going to be speaking to that as well. And I'd like to welcome our guests, Matt Reichert and Andrew Kennedy here with us this morning as well. So welcome.
Mr. Chairman, we also have Mark Gennario here as well.
Thank you. Glad to have you here.
Excuse me.
Who'd like to start this morning?
Mark, I don't know if you have
You
any
know what?
comments or if you want.
Yeah, just high level, provide some context. The Waypoint has a presence here in Chautauqua County and throughout Western New York, and they're very good at what they do. Employ a lot of people, they're innovative. I met with them. Matt, what would you say? It was over the summer, and we had a nice lunch at the White Inn, and they were talking about Waypoint and their presence here in Chautauqua County, and I was so flattered. I think I came back and told them what a great meeting it was, because they said that their operations in Chautauqua County are very productive. It's a great workforce, and they really want to continue to invest in Chautauqua County. So I was excited by that. And then he followed it up, of course, with today's project. And, I want to support them as much as we can. And this is a really exciting project, and I won't steal any thunder, but I just wanted to sort of set the context and hope that they continue to find that Chautauqua County is a great place to invest. And I'll take it over to Christine or whoever.
Thank you, Mark. So we have two items on the agenda today for Waypoint 3PL Inc. We're presenting a due diligence resolution and preliminary agreement, and then also a seeker resolution for a parcel option and an approving resolution for a parcel option. The due diligence resolution and preliminary agreement pertains to the acquisition of a warehouse in the Chadwick Bay Industrial Park. It's 121,450 square feet. This is their Sheridan warehousing and logistics hub, where they will renovate 115,000 square feet of the building. Additionally, the project includes the acquisition and installation, of some new equipment to upgrade and modernize the facility, which they are currently leasing and have been for several years. The project will support internal growth, meet customer demand in the Northeast markets, and increase their Chautauqua County employment by about 1/3, from 64 jobs to 84 jobs within 3 years. Total project cost is nearly $6 million, and the application with full details were provided in your meeting materials. Waypoint also owns the former Carriage House complex on Newton Street in Fredonia. You may be familiar with that. And we currently have an LTEC loan and a CRLF loan with them for that facility. When the company approached CCIDA for a pilot, Shelby and I met with the Sheridan Town Supervisor, Tom Wick, and also the Town Attorney, Jeff Pescafero. Following the discussion about the project, about how the pilot would work, Supervisor Wick indicated the town's support for the project and requested that we proceed with the pilot application. That's just quick background and overview. And now I'd like to invite Matt, Mark, and Andy to provide a presentation and comments about the project and an update that you have for us.
Sure. That was a tough act to follow. You guys aren't even on the payroll and you're selling us like we are. As I said, first, this is one of the most impressive board tables I've ever seen. I want to get that on the record formally. So yeah, to piggyback off of that, my name is Matt Reichert. I'm the corporate attorney for WavePoint. I do think that when we deal in some of these settings, a little bit of personal background is needed. I'm from Erie, PA. My dad worked at Accurite in Faulkner for a number of years. Always had an affinity kind of for this area. It was always kind of a town away from town, I guess is a way to put it, going to Bemis Point in the summer. So our ability as an Erie company to be ingratiated into Chautauqua County is very important to us. To Mark's point, and that's not a fabrication, our ability to seek and find and employ labor in this area is second to none. It has been the most productive area for us, comparing it to Erie County, comparing it to Erie County, New York, comparing it to Niagara County, New York. So our goal and our intention is to grow as much as we can with our value-added services and what we would call high-velocity services within this area. Specifically at the Chadwick Drive address, we have a couple big things we want to consider. One is we do what's called transloading. We take a massive amount of something, for instance, pea starch, whey protein, into a container, put it into another more sizable consumer-grade container. Some of it goes right down the road to Nestle. Some of it doesn't go more than 200 feet. Some of it goes to pet stores all across the country. With that comes equipment, and with that comes people. Our plan is to utilize the facility for growth in that type of operation. The second biggest thing we'd want to do with this facility is grow out our value-added services. As Ms. Morbido said, we do own the carriage house, and that is where it is currently facilitated. But the carriage house building, although it is beautiful and antique, it's limited in space and growth. Our ability to have reliable electricity, our ability to have a reliable power source at that facility is integral to our ability to grow that type of operation. Simply put, a value-added operation is 32 packs of a singular type of grape juice, orange juice, fruit punch. We take it, assemble it into the consumer packs you see in your stores. It is a heavy manual labor type process, but it is something that is absolutely integral to our business. The last piece of, I guess, design we have for the Chadwick Drive facility is we plan to fully utilize its rail capabilities. The ability to bring in raw ingredients from the rail, transload them, which in our operation means take them from a rail car to a truck, to a van, to a pneumatic tanker, those sorts of things is absolutely invaluable to us. The rail line runs right up against the building, which is why we've asked for an option to extend, an option to purchase that additional land. I was chatting with Mr. Muldowney here, and no matter how much this land costs, it's still cheaper than the railroad. So we'd love the ability to expand the building to meet the rail instead of the idea of moving the rail to meet the building. Our goal, ultimate usage of this facility would be for it to become what we would call a high velocity distribution center. That means manual labor. That means finished products going from the manufacturer to the facility, from the facility to their various consumers. The current occupancy of that building right now is consumer. I don't want to give out the particular brand, but it is roughly 120,000 square feet of sports drinks and water. And that is our planned use for this facility. We are a food grade facility, an SQF grade facility, which is the Cadillac of warehouse qualifications. We plan to utilize the facility in that capability as well. So it would be food and food adjacent products. I'm happy to take any questions or turn it over to Mark if you have anything you'd like to add.
No, other than I'm a local guy, Lakewood, and I've worked here locally and now with WavePoint, but got a lot of things going on where we are growing both here as well as Erie County, Pennsylvania, and Erie County, New York. And so certainly appreciate anything that that you guys are able to do to help us out as in that growth, it does mean a lot to us and certainly goes a long way to continue, you know, expansion that we're looking to do. So we've got a lot of different things going on, and anything that anything that you're able to do to help us out, we're certainly appreciative of.
I thought maybe I'd show you the facility. And Matt was talking about expansion and rail. So we pulled this map up for you. So this is currently, I don't know if you can see that, but this is the current Wave Point facility, about 121,000 square feet. And this is Chadwick Bay Industrial Park. All of this is Chadwick Bay Industrial Park. This is a Nestle warehouse. We got Dunkirk Metal Products and some other businesses here. So Matt was mentioning the rail, and the rail comes in, the rail spur comes in right here. It's not currently being utilized.
No, ma'am.
But it's there. And then we own some land in this area, and they've asked us for the option, and this is the resolution I have before you, the seeker resolution and the resolution that operates the option agreement. And they're looking at land located here and here.
The parcel has to be split because actually the one parcel number incorporates this,
No,
this,
this one,
this one, and this one.
right? I want that one.
Yeah, it's not that one. You're right. And so they're just asking for these two out of those 5.
Okay, and that's about 11 acres or so.
Mark, did you say they're separate tax parcel numbers or does it?
No, they're one.
Have to be kind of subdivided?
Yes.
If the option is exercised.
Understood.
Okay. Okay, any other questions for our guests? Otherwise, I'll turn it over to Matt Fitzgerald to discuss the resolution. Okay, Matt?
All right, so the first resolution is the preliminary agreement approval and due diligence resolution that relates to the project for the existing facility on the site, the 125,000 square foot building. It's your typical due diligence resolution that just commits the board to reviewing the application, to working with the applicant in the due diligence that the board will undertake prior to scheduling a public hearing and ultimately rendering a decision on the application. So it doesn't commit the board to anything. The option component of this is split off. And the reason we did that is because as a part of the due diligence on the refitting of the existing warehouse, the board's going to undertake a seeker review of that, right? Ensuring there's no significant adverse environmental impacts relating to that project. But the option component and the possible future expansion into that property at this point is speculative, right? We don't have concrete plans for what that's going to look like, what that's going to entail. And so rather than say, well, we're going to hold up the review of the entire project, including the retrofit of the existing building, until we know what those plans are, the resolution on the seeker side is a segmentation resolution that says, you know what, this project is going to be determined in the future. We're going to get more details. We're going to look at it later and come to a conclusion at that time when we actually know what that project looks like. So we're going to segment off the future development of the option parcel from the review of the warehouse project. And that's what the seeker resolution does. Segmentation is typically disfavored, but you can do it as a board when the circumstances allow for it. When it's warranted under the circumstances, here it's warranted because you don't have any plans for the future development of the option parcel. When it's no less protective of the environment, whenever those future plans are developed, if they're developed, they will come back to this board or to the municipality for a future review. And it's not determinative of a future action. So the fact that you're granting the option doesn't mean that the applicant is going to go ahead and exercise that option. It doesn't mean that there's going to be a project that's ultimately going to move forward. So segmentation here would be permissible. The option agreement itself is a separate resolution that's approved. And the terms are fairly bare boned. It's a $5,000 option for a 1-year term that can be extended upon agreement between the parties. The terms of the purchase and sale agreement are going to be negotiated at a later date. So your price per acre, the exact boundaries of what land is going to be taken, all of that will be determined later. And when that purchase and sale agreement is finalized, it'll come back to this board for approval at that time. One thing to note is that because this a future sale of land would be in connection with an IDA project, it would be exempt from the general municipal law public bidding requirements because IDAs have a carve out under those when they're undertaking a project. So I think Christine already mentioned that approximately 11 acres or so. And that's my summary of the option and the secret resolution. So happy to answer any questions.
He's good.
Thank you.
He's a partner.
Any questions from the board? Hearing none. Dan, can you move new business A1 for us?
Gladly. Resolution 12-16-25-01, due diligence resolution and preliminary agreement, Waypoint PL Inc.
Thank you. And we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, John. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Megan Sheffield Smith.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
John Healy.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Tom Harmon.
Aye.
Dan Demart.
Aye.
And the resolution is unanimously approved. Next, Sagan, can you move new business A2 for us?
Sure. Resolution 12-16-25-02, secret resolution for parcel option, both of them?
Yes, please.
Sorry. Resolution 12-16-25-03, approving resolution for parcel option waypoint 3PL8.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tom. We'll go ahead and do roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Sagan Sheffield Smith.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
John Healy.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Tom Harmon.
Aye.
Dan Demart.
Aye.
And the resolution is unanimously approved. Certainly an exciting project. We're glad to see the expansion and hope that there might be some options in the future as you look forward to how you might be able to use this rail to continue to grow further.
Thank you, everybody.
Very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Have a good Christmas. Happy holidays. I can tell by the outfits, it was probably the dinosaur and Santa gave it away. I apologize.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move into new business B, Maple Vale Farms, presented by Mark, Rosie, and Millen. I'd also like to welcome Keith, but he's been here enough that, he's almost like part of the board. So I don't think any introduction is necessary.
Mark, did you want to go first?
I was trying to think about, we've talked about Maple Vale Farms quite a bit, and I've been giving you updates. So there's been some complications. I don't want to steal Keith's thunder by any means. He has some thunder.
Thunder and lightning.
Yeah, and lightning. But no, there was some circumstances that resulted in a delay for the project. And it had to do with the extension of the electric to the facility. And bottom line is that the construction of the facility is going to be done prior to it having the power it needs to run. So they're going to have to employ generators and sort of, power it from external sources for a little while until that power is in place. Additional costs, it pushes back the construction timeline, like when things can be done, and it's going to be more cost. So that's really why we looked at, and we obviously we had a lot of conversations with a lot of different people, but we all agreed that to sort of compensate or help them with the additional costs, we would do this deviation to the pilot. And the town supervisor, Rebecca Brummagem, is totally endorsing this, this deviation. So again, I don't want to give too many details, but that's sort of why we're here today with this deviation to the original 10-year standard pilot. And I'm sure Christine will talk more in depth about that, but that's all I'll say for now.
Maybe Rosie will.
Oh, Rosie, I'm sorry.
So
Walked in, I'm like a squirrel.
the changes to the project. So initially, this was going to be a 10-year standard pilot with sales tax abatement, property tax abatement, and mortgage recording tax. As Mark mentioned, this is now going to be a deviation from our UTEP. So it's going to be a 15-year pilot, still offering the same incentives with property tax, mortgage recording tax, and sales tax. In fact, mortgage reporting tax and sales tax savings are still going to stay the same. Total sales tax savings is still going to be at 2 million. Mortgage reporting tax savings is still going to be at 465,340. The original property tax pilot payments to the affected tax jurisdiction were going to be about $1,190,220. Because the extension of the additional 5 years, those payments to the affected taxing jurisdiction through the pilot will now be $2,182,080. The original savings was it was just over 2.7 million. The new savings is just over 3.7 million. Job creation and retention is still the same. As Mark mentioned, town supervisor is still very much in favor of the project. A new public hearing was held on December 9th. The town supervisor was in attendance, but there was no comments made during that public hearing. I will let Keith talk about the new timeline since that has changed from the project, unless Mark, you.
Can I say one just thing real quick and simple terms? So the original 10-year pilots are a 90% abatement for 2 years and 80% for 2 years and 70% for 2 years, 60% for 2 years, right? 50% for 2 years. And then it would go back on the tax roll. That would be the 10 years. What this is doing is extending those last 2 years, the 50% reduction for another 5 years. So that's what the deviation is.
Keith? Right. Well, and you guys summed up a lot. It definitely is never count your chickens before they're hatched moment for us. We were moving full steam ahead, and we were on a timeline to actually start moving earth this October. And part of our due diligence when we first acquired the land to determine whether or not, for a little memory lane, we actually had originally purchased property in Pennsylvania. And through the incredible partnership with the IDA, Empire State Development as well, really made the case which is where our heart was anyways, to stay here. So when we acquired the property, part of that due diligence was working with National Grid to make sure we could get the power that we needed, which they said they could do. That was about 2 years ago. So as of October 1st, they still couldn't tell us that they could bring us the power officially and when and how much, as we engaged with our design and build firm. Bring that up to present day after much help with Mark and bringing in help from all over the state, including Albany. National Grid has kind of reprioritized their internal budget and priorities. They were telling us as of October 1st, it may be 2 years before we can get you the power that you need. They've since improved that to 1.5 years. Obviously, that was a big pause moment for us in our decision making, and we needed to reconsider should Pennsylvania be our decision. Obviously, again, all the work we've done, and this is where our heart is. You know, I was raised here. I moved back to this area as part of a passion for the revitalization of this area. Raised my family here, so happy to say that National Grid is 18 months is what they're committing to. We're hoping they can do sooner. What that will mean for us is going to be there's actually 2 major expenses besides the time impact. First, we were supposed to start moving earth October 1st to beat this wonderful Western New York winter that we have. Between the snow and the temperatures and the moisture, it really impacts earth movement as well as foundation laying and all the things that go along with that. So we've actually already pre-staged equipment there for the site work. We haven't pulled the trigger officially yet. We're kind of waiting for all these pieces to fall into place. But part of that process, because of the delay, it depends on the winter that we get. We'll have to import materials, stone and that type of thing to augment the soil of the site to be able to enable us to do what we do. If we get a really severe winter, we may have to pause it for 6 months or less, probably a couple months till things thaw out. But that's the unknown part. The other piece that Mark referenced is obviously without power, it's hard to operate. So we have been working on costing out primary source generators, even on the used market. And depending on National Grid's timeline of when they can get it done, probably what's going to end up happening is we get a primary source generator, which obviously is much more expensive than a backup generator that only needs to operate, on an emergency basis for a few days or weeks. A primary source generator, 24/7, 365, it provides power for the whole thing. Obviously, it's a cost to operate that baby, but also it's a costly piece of equipment and a temporary resolution to our power issues. And then once National Grid brings us their power, then we can move that to be our backup generator. So that's where the plan is now. And National Grid is working on a new substation as part of that. That's part of the process. It's also overall for the whole town of Minot. One of the things that came out during this process, and I was very vehement about in fighting for Rebecca and the town of Minot, which has been incredible as well, a great partner we're looking forward to being ingrained in that community there. But it became very evident that it was a power issue for the whole area. The amount of power that National Grid could give us at that time was only enough for a new house. That was about it. And I know that Rebecca has plans for lots more development there, gas station, restaurants, things that are happening.
Wastewater
treatment plant right next door to us. Yeah, huge. So it really exposed the issue of our infrastructure from an electricity basis. So regardless of whether they were there or not, I really was battling to make sure that Minot got the power it needed. And I was really excited to see all the help, including our local state representatives, as well as from the governor's office. They've been involved. Obviously, PJ was, I really appreciated his strong, not a strongly worded memo, it was a strongly worded statement when we had that first meeting with National Grid. How can we attract companies? We can't even keep companies. We don't have enough power, right? So I think that message has been heard loud and clear. I know Andrew Molitor talked about using this as an example, along with hundreds of others, he says, in Albany. So hopefully there's some improvement coming as well to the entire community. But where things stand now, this, I guess, lack of a better word, a sweetener to the pilot makes it a little more palatable. The amount, it's been a moving target to try to get our hands around what the added costs are to this project. At a minimum, they were telling us to delay the earth moving from October 1st, depending on the kind of winter we have. That could be anywhere from $1.5 million to $3 million, depending on just all the things we need to import and do. That doesn't count the added generator and other issues that are involved. So we shall see, but we are still very much 100% committed and really grateful for all the work that the IDA has done and continues to do. And obviously, we're a multi-generational company, so we're looking forward to generations to come. And I think when the history books are written, this will be a fun part of the story and how Chautauqua County really came to bat for us. So thank you.
Perfect.
Any questions from the board?
No, so if Millen, if you don't mind going over the resolutions and of course, a deviation hearing.
Sure. First, we'll have the deviation hearing. And then there will be a deviation resolution approving that deviation, and then a final approving resolution allowing us to go forward. Again, the deviation, the letter was sent to each of the affected tax jurisdictions on November 24th, advising them that at this meeting, we would consider a deviation from the standard UTEP. And again, I point out that the first 10 years has already been approved by the board. So this is really just years 11 through 15, and it just continues that last payment, the same dollar amount that Mark mentioned. So that being said, let me open the hearing. Are there any members of or any representatives from any of the affected tax jurisdictions that would like to be heard? Hearing none, and we've not gotten any correspondence from any of the affected tax jurisdictions. So we've now done the hearing, and those are the two resolutions, approving the deviation and the final approving resolution. I think Rosie's already gone over what the numbers are.
Thank you. Amy, can you move new business B for us?
Sure. Resolution 12-16-25-04, deviation approval resolution, and resolution 12-16-25-05, amended approving resolution, Maple Vale Farm, Inc.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Dan. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader,
Aye.
Sagan Sheffield Smith,
Aye.
Amy Harding,
Aye.
John Healy.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney,
Aye.
Tom Harmon,
Aye.
Dan Demart.
Aye.
So both resolutions are unanimously approved. So we're super thankful that we can help on this and keep you in the county and just hopefully we can get the power you need to keep going. I know my business, there's been once or twice we've lost power and had to use temporary generators, and it gets real expensive real fast.
Yes.
So certainly wish you the best with
I
that.
have to ask you for some best practices, wisdom from experience.
Certainly. I'd also like to take a quick second just to call out the staff. Certainly a lot of work by Mark and others, you know, when these things come up that you are behind the scenes, not necessarily we're all even aware of all the time, but just having the connections with different people at the state level to get the people involved needed to get these things across the line and to get everybody on board. And so a lot goes on behind the scenes. And then even just thinking of like the public hearings. And so in this case, Rosie, but all the staff that has to do this, you know, they have to go to these locations, they announce these things, they show up. Very seldom do people actually show up to say anything, but yet we do it. We provide the information, the public's input if they'd like to provide it. And there's a lot that goes on to these things. And it's just a quick footnote in our minutes. You know, you don't even really realize all the work that goes in. So certainly thank the staff for all the work that they are doing to get these resolutions ready for us. Next, we'll move into the executive director's report.
Yeah, I'll be fairly brief here. Couple things. One is that for the Ripley site, we were hoping that we would get good news from the EDA about a $3.25 million grant that we had applied for, actually twice. And we did hear back that we didn't get it, and there's a lot behind it. But what that means for the project is we had originally our budget was something like, you know, a little over 17.5 million. And that was going to enable us to run a 3,000 linear foot access road into the site, which would almost go all the way across the south end of the site. And, you know, with water, sewer, electric, all that stuff. But with this $3 million not being there, we're just going to have to scale back the length of the road. It really doesn't affect, I mean, park, everything's going to move ahead except for the access road isn't going to run as far. It's probably going to be, and I'm guessing we have a meeting with Clark Patterson Lee this Friday. They're trying to figure out what that looks like, but it's probably going to be 1,000 feet or 1,500 feet versus 3,000. So I wanted you to know that. And then you may have, you know, last week at at the legislature, I went to Public Facilities, Audit Control, and PED about Hangar A at the Jamestown Airport that the IDA bonded for. The county bought an IDA bond for $252,000 back in 1995 to build this 10,000 square foot hangar. And there's a lot to it, but bottom line, there was still a balance on the bond because in 2020, the IDA was receiving the revenue from leasing that hangar all the way up until 2020. And that was going towards paying down the bond, which is the way the bond language was written. But following 2020, the county started getting that rent and it wasn't applied to the bond. So there was still a balance of over $80,000 on that bond. And at least at the committee level, they unanimously approved the conveyance of that hangar over to the county and forgiving the bond balance. So I just wanted you to be aware of that if you read about anything, but that's in everyone's best interest, by the way. The other thing is that we've been working really hard on getting the equipment out of there that we had a lien on with Luscombe. And Luscombe went belly up and we auctioned the equipment off. An individual purchased it, supposed to get the stuff out of there, hasn't yet, but we finally got his attention through many different tactics. And he has been there. He was there last week to move it. His truck got stuck at the bottom of the hill and with snow. But anyway, he did get the pallets dropped off and he's assured us that the equipment will be out of there by the week of the 5th, January 5th. So, and then the county can move forward with leasing that to somebody else. But it's a long story, but that's sort of in a nutshell. And I'm not taking questions. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, so I think that, I think that's all I really want to cover. You know, obviously, I want to reiterate what Gary said about the staff. We really have an incredible staff, and I'm not just saying that. And it's not just our immediate staff, but our consultants, our attorneys, our whole team is really solid. So we're really fortunate, to have that. And our board. Oh, our board. Don't get me going. Yeah. Yeah, really grateful to everyone. I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we'll move into our treasurer's report.
Yep, that's me. I'll give you guys a minute to get to the documents. So for November year to date on the P&L, you'll see that the IDA, so I'll kind of reiterate what we've briefly talked about previously in like the salary allocations. So we do track employee time and basically kind of pull out total like loaded employee costs, including benefits and all of that stuff. And we allocate that expense to the different like loan funds, like you'll see on the P&L, based on actual time spent. So I think that it's just important to call that out because that will offset the loss on the IDA. Just basically because, when we spend time on overhead items like Ripley or whatever it may be, that's counted in the IDA column and it's just offset, by the interest revenue from funds. So I just wanted to briefly touch on that. Another piece of the loss on just the IDA side, the 105, there were expenses that we were incurring that we didn't receive the income yet. So we had to book the expenses, pay the expenses, and then we received the grant income from the county in December. So that'll get caught up in December. We did end up receiving, I think it was 60,000 in total in December. Of that 60,000, we had 43,000 in expenses that are captured here in November. So we'll basically get like a $43,000 catch up in December that'll offset that $105,000 loss. So a little bit of that loss is timing. And then again, the rest of it is just kind of how we track expenses and book the expenses. Okay, so we'll jump to the balance sheet. Here again, like I talk about every month, is the cash. We're in a comfortable cash position, but again, you got to offset the cash with the deferred revenue because those are basically earmarked for expenses that are to come. The IDA is sitting around $1 million, but that's kind of where we want to be going into 2026 because we have this Ripley project where a lot of the funds that are covering that are reimbursable. So we're going to incur the expenses, have to pony up to cover it, and then apply for reimbursement. So that's kind of our sweet spot going into 2026 is to sit around that $1 million. As for our loan funds, we're also sitting about $1 million, and we actually have cleared the queue of loans that were approved and kind of waiting for the principal payments to come in so that we can fund it. But we do have about 500,000 in the hopper is what I like to call it, because we know that, we're working with them and we know that the applications are coming. They're just not at the place where they're ready to, we don't have all the documents or whatever it may be. So we do, we're comfortable. We don't really have a queue, but we know that there are some coming. So that's pretty much how we keep the conversation with any clients that reach out to us, at this point, we share with them it may be Q2 in 2026 that we could approve something in the cash. Yeah, right. That's really it for the balance sheet. Again, you're going to see some changes, probably not for in the January board meeting because we'll have the bad debt reserve and all of that stuff that we get from our auditors that we'll book. So we'll dive into the P&L versus budget. Here you'll see in the revenue section, we are under our budget for application and admin fees. We did receive the fees from Catalyze or Solar Liberty.
Catalyze paid.
Yep,
for the
yep.
school to be-
That was the one that we had discussed where they've been sitting out there for a while and we requested to get the admin fees by December 15th. That was yesterday. And we haven't received the cash, but we have received notification that the wires have been initiated from their bank.
All
So
five?
it's coming.
For all 5?
4, I think there was 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't there that one that?
Yeah.
Or-
Yeah.
Oddly, I got picked 3 out of 4, but.
Okay.
Well,
Well, that's fine.
keep that, 'cause I have that. So those are the ones that are initiated, so you can keep that. So that'll offset that 433. I don't expect very much more to offset that. So we have the 433 that were under budget for November year to date, and then we have an additional 125,000 that was budgeted for December. So we're gonna miss our budget on application and admin fees for the year. There were some projects that we were expecting to recognize in 2025 that just didn't cross the finish line. So that's a big part of it. I will mention too that it is pretty much offset in our save and expenses. Again, that bad debt will be booked. But again, that runs through the accountants' giant spreadsheets and all of their fun analysis. So anyways, back to the admin fees. So I would expect to be around probably 278,000 under budget at the end of December. But there's still 2 weeks left, so who knows? As far as the expenses versus budget, again, the payroll and benefits, some of that is offset in CREDC. Actually, I think most of it is offset in CREDC. I think CREDC is under by 1,000, so it's pretty close. The professional fees and the grant expense, those primarily offset each other. So when we have, grants that we are expecting to utilize in the next year, when we budget for it, we don't really know what's gonna fall in professional fees or what the timing's gonna be. So that's pretty much offset there. Everything else really is, the bad debt that'll come, but that's just an accounting. It's not an actual cash transaction.
Just one comment real quick, the application and administrative fees budget. I do feel like we're seeing some apprehension or nervousness or whatever you want to call it out there. Where there were a lot of companies that we talked to over the last year or 2 years, whatever, they're sort of queuing up projects and they're sort of And we thought they would happen this year and they haven't yet. So whatever that is, we're seeing it sort of reflected here.
Couple of the really complex projects too. It's a lot to put all of those financing sources together. So a couple, I know that I worked on will be early 26. It's just, there's a
Yeah.
lot to it.
Yeah. Capital stack.
And that's all I have.
Thank you. We have a motion to accept the treasurer's report. You have a second? Second. Tom, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Report has been accepted. At this point, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session. For the purpose of discussing the financial or credit history of a particular person or corporation. In particular, I would like to discuss the status of our loan portfolio and the financial and credit status of some of our borrowers. Do I hear such a motion? Thank you, Dan. Do I have a second? Thank you, Kevin. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, we'll go into executive session. Should be decent.
But that is right there.
No service.
We are back in open session. I would like to report that there were no actions or votes taken during executive session and therefore no minutes of the meeting were taken. I believe Mark wants to talk about our schedule for next year.
Yeah, so this is not the official schedule. This is the tentative schedule, right? Jeanette?
Yeah,
And
will
it's
be-
in your packet. And what, at the January board meeting, is it when we?
We'll actually approve this in the March at our annual meeting, but this is just, it's subject to change, but the only thing that has changed on there, it's always the fourth Tuesday of every month. But the November and December meeting is always moved up 1 week. So it's just for you to have and,
And the location, right?
and the locations, yep.
Yeah, because I think there's what, a few up in.
March and September are usually at, our North County office at FBI. Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Any old business to come before the board? Hearing none, we'll consider the meeting adjourned. The next CCIDA board meeting will be January the 27th. We'll be back here at the BWB Building again and streaming live on YouTube as well.
Don't go anywhere.
Next, Dan, I think you have to step out. Okay.
See you, Dan.
Well, thanks for coming. Really having you here.
Right here, this.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Daniel.
Next, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Board of Directors meeting for CREDC. We're at the BWB Building, 201 West Third Street, Jamestown, New York. We're streaming live via YouTube. It's December the 16th at 11:40. We'll go ahead and start with roll call. Gary Henry's here. Dan Hetzenrader. Here. Sagan Sheffield Smith. Amy Harding.
Here.
John Healy.
Here.
Kevin Muldowney.
Yeah, I think it's
Stepped out. Tom Harmon.
Here.
And Dan Demart had to leave. You should have already received the minutes from the October 28th, 2025 meeting and had a chance to review those. We have a motion to accept those minutes. Thank you, Tom. Do we have a second? Thank you, John. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The minutes have been accepted. We'll move into new business, 3A, CCPEG Articles of Governance, presented by Nate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, 6 years later, the Partnership for Economic Growth initiative under the umbrella of CREDC that continues to grow legs and momentum. We brought Josiah on this summer to sort of take it as a dedicated program manager to the next level. And we realized that sort of the administrative structure was a little loosey-goosey under the umbrella of CREDC. So we tasked Josiah with sort of drafting articles of governance that sort of add a little flesh to the relationship between the Partnership Advisory Board and the CREDC Board, which ultimately has the fiduciary duty. And I'll let Josiah sort of elaborate from there.
Thank you, Nate. I won't go into details on the full document, which was sent out with your minutes here, but we did try to provide a little bit more of a formal written format for for calling articles of governance, right? This official bylaws, because the partnership is an informal organization, an initiative, a program of CREDC, but it's not an organization, whereas CREDC is the 501c3 organization that has the legal and fiduciary responsibility. So we tried to make that clear in the documents and then just provide the structure of the organization that CPEG has and the work groups underneath that structure listed out in the document here. So it's not too detailed, but I think it's just the right amount of detail. We did go through with Millen and Dan as the co-chair of our advisory board for CPEG, review them in advance of each meeting, and we're presenting them to you as that. Are there any questions?
I'll just make a comment that I appreciate the work, obviously, and that sort of preview. And, you know, my only feedback, which I know you already had in mind and incorporated, was making clear that, again, you know, the advisory board itself is not a separate entity. It kind of functions more as a committee. And I think this is going to help set that groundwork, right, or set that expectation with all the members of the advisory group. But also making clear that, you know, the ultimate decision-making lies here with the CREDC board. So be very helpful going forward.
Yep. I would add, technically the partnership is, and you see this in section 5.1, a program of CREDC. So one of the things, so it's really CREDC is the legal entity, and this is a program. It is something that the CREDC does, but this is very helpful for setting up what the advisory board does, you know, and you've never really had that formalized before, but this is perfect.
Any questions? I thought it was laid out really nice, you know, reading through it. It's easy to understand, seemed pretty clear, and so well done. I appreciate it. John Healy, can you move new business A1 for us?
Yes, resolution 12-16-25-06 of the members of the Chautauqua Region Economic Development Corporation approving the articles of governance for the Chautauqua County Partnership for Economic Growth.
Thank you. And do we have a second? Second. Thank you, Dan. We'll go ahead and do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Sagan Sheffield Smith.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
John Healy.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Tom Harmon.
Aye.
The resolution is unanimously approved. Next, we'll move into new business B, CREDC resolution accepting grant funds presented by Nate.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. This is a resolution this board typically sees around this time of year every year, accepting all their annual funds for the following year. So we're beginning for the 7th year now, $100,000 commitment from the Northern Chautauqua Community Foundation. For the 5th year, we'll be getting allocation from the Gebby Foundation. 2026 amount is slightly increased to 85,000. And then the 2 county occupancy tax funded programs, the Greenway contract and placemaking programming will be consistent amounts for 2026 as well. 35,000 for Greenway promotion and 50,000 for placemaking.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Kevin Muldowney, will you move new business B1 for us?
Sure. Resolution 12-16-25-7 of the members of the Region Economic Development Corporation approving entry into agreement with Chautauqua County and local foundations for grant funding for the Chautauqua County Partnership for Economic Growth.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Sagan. We'll do a roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Sagan Sheffield Smith.
Aye.
Amy Harding.
Aye.
John Healy. Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Tom Harmon.
Aye.
So the resolution is unanimously approved. And again, incredible amount of work that you do and all the grants that are received and all the benefits throughout the county. Do we have an executive director's report?
Just one little thing, Mr. Chairman, we are working on our annual report like we do every year. Jason's pulling all that together and bugging us a lot. And so, well, I don't know, we thinking January, February, what are we,
Last year, this year, we released it in February. The prior year was January. So it's really just depends on timing with the design elements and once we aggregate all our information. So we probably can try to get out in January, if not definitely February. It really depends on your call along with the staff to make sure all the information is correct and ready to roll out.
And so it's sort of two parts, is really sort of the IDA and then CPAC. And although they're all under the IDA, so that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Next, we'll move into the treasurer's report.
Oh, if you, excuse me, if we start with the P and L. I know last month I spoke to, it's not unusual for CREDC to be underwater from time to time. We have a good space, 5 or 6 years where we're profitable to an extent, and then we'll have a year or two where we're underwater. It really all depends on the flow of OCR grants, because that's CREDC's really only source of revenue and income. So this is just one of those years where we're a little underwater. For CPAG, they had caught up since last month that we had received some income that we had been planning for by the end of the year. And the Ralph Wilson ARPA, the ARPA is probably gonna fall off for next year. But those are both in good standings. And then if you take a look at the balance sheet, we have a good cash standing, but as Shelby always speaks to, you also need to take into consideration the deferred revenue that offsets the cash. But nothing.
This deferred revenue looks just a little wonky when you look at CREDC because that would have the OCR grants are in there. So it's not as clean as when you look at it on the IDA balance sheets.
Those are offset by the notes.
Yeah.
So then going on to the budget. We still have some grant income yet to be the remainder of the year. So we should see a bit of a catch up in December for that. And then the professional fees, you can't budget for what you don't know is coming down the pipeline. So projects like the paint CHQ, I don't think we originally budgeted for that in 2024, but then it came to be in 25. So for professional fees to be over budget, it's not uncommon or unusual.
Yeah. And again, here where you would see the offset and grant contractual.
Yes, that's what I was just gonna mention. Yep. Sometimes
of it, yeah, a little bit is timing and a little bit is just that offset between the two.
Correct. Yep. That's all I have.
But again, we're ahead of budget by 39,000 and CREDC is a different animal because of, recognizing revenue and expense. So, we'll see, we see a loss of 108,000, but that's primarily, overhead type of expenses in order to get us to, whatever projects that are on the pipeline.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to accept the treasurer's report? Thank you, Tegan. Thank you, Tom. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed? The report has been accepted. Any old business to come before the board? Hearing none, we'll consider the meeting adjourned and we'll meet again